often said, you know, that politics is all about egos and drives and ambition and all that sort of stuff. And when people say, oh, you know, remember when this particular government over here got in, working together, change for the good. Let me tell you, behind the scenes of that black door at number 10 Downing Street, they loathe each other. Oh, absolutely. You've got Lucy Powell, who recently beat off the Education Minister, Bridget Phillipson. They're not speaking, no. Right, girls? And consequently, you've got Keir Starmer, who's so nervous now about being ousted at any level because he knows he's now the most unpopular British Prime Minister polling in history. But on top of all of that, you've got the current Deputy British Prime Minister, David Lammy. And this particular situation is turning out to be like an episode of Margaret Thatcher's very favourite comedy show, Yes, Prime Minister. As ever, let me explain. Morning, chums. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me as ever, and welcome one and all. By the way, I'm glad you really enjoyed the recent history videos all about Wallis Simpson and what she did with that money, what she didn't do with the money, and more importantly, what she could have done with the money. And as we've often said here, you know I say this a lot to you, chums, but it really is just history, isn't it? It's just that we don't know it. You know, that's the thing. We're not aware of that history. So consequently, when you look into it and do the research or meet people, you think, well, actually, all this has gone on before. We find it shocking because it's in our lifetime, but really Wallis was a very clever manipulator, but not at the full throttle level, in my opinion, of course, of Meghan Markle. I know, I'd love to know where if you haven't seen the videos, do hoof over and have a look. I think you may enjoy them. It's just simply because they're a change of pace and it's a different sort of look at life than it may have been so many years ago. Let's get back, of course, to your news story of the day. This man is our current British Deputy Prime Minister. Now, he only got the job because there was another disgraced minister, Angela Rayner, who got ousted because she lied about something to do with a mortgage, a house, a move. And, you know, they're all on the gravy train. All the government ministers are on the gravy train. End of, right? Yvette Cooper was, I think, is she the Foreign Secretary? Whatever. She was the Home Secretary, but she couldn't do that job, so they hoofed her out, right? And so everybody's now fighting for supremacy. You've got a lot of problems a year and a bit down the line because they're a failure as a government. Rachel Reeves is useless as the very first female Chancellor of the Exchequer. Now, David Lammy likes to point out not only is the very first black, coloured, whatever you want to call it, he calls himself black, as the Deputy Prime Minister. And he also pointed out that he was the very first black Deputy Prime Minister to attend Prime Minister's question times at the dispatch box in the House of Commons. You see how this racism thing works. If you mention that, you're racist. If they mention it, they're celebrating. You get the drift. This is the lunacy of why inclusivity is never going to work when you have nutters like this literally at the dispatch box. You get the picture. If we could all live together, why do you need to mention it? All right? It doesn't matter. However, behind the scenes, it's egos abound. This is because you've got to laugh at this stuff, really. It's simply because David Lammy, who's not exactly the brightest bulb in the box, and I can say that because I've met him and I've interviewed him, without the notes, without the questions in advance, is a little bit like his shorter chum, Sadiq Khan. They can't answer anything because they don't know it. You know, it's what they've got in front of them. David Lammy's had a terrible week where a number of prisoners have now been let out of prisons. He's in charge of this, but he had no idea. Right? Oh no, it's not his fault, it's the previous government's. No, they left under your term. It's your fault. Bigger story, though, is he's getting upset because other ministers will not refer to him as Deputy Prime Minister. No, they just either call him David or Lammy or whatever, the nickname was. And apparently now it's got to the point with his ego that unless you actually call him the Deputy Prime Minister, he's refusing to answer. Now, from an excellent source, I can say that somebody, and I'm not quite sure who, but I'm sure it will come to light, recently left a playing of the opening entrance music, whatever you want to call it, to the hit Ronnie Barker show, Porridge, Norman Stanley Fletcher. Do you remember that? And apparently it was playing each time he went into the room. He had no idea because he didn't really know this series. He should acquaint himself. He might learn something about how prisons are run. But apparently when he found out, once again, he's on the warpath. Either way, though, remember, when you meet him, show some respect. Despite the prisoners running out, it's not his fault. And always remember, it's the Deputy Prime Minister, the Right Honourable David Lammy. You got that? Neil Shaw, Kensington, London.